I'm Amanda Knox.
And I'm Christopher Robinson.
And this
is Who's Right? Between our usual Labyrinths episodes, we sit down to debate something quite serious.
Or silly.
And ask you, who is right?
It's me.
It's me.
It's me.
It's clearly me.
No, definitely me.
It's me.
Me?
No, me.
It's me.
How could it be anyone but me?
Says the man sleeping on the couch.
Do dreams have meaning, or are they just random brain activity? What's your take?
Random brain activity.
Why do you say that?
The best theory I've encountered about what dreams are is, where did I get this from? Maybe I read this in a Daniel Dennett book. But you know how like the phenomenon when you are in a dark room and you're looking at the sweater draped over a chair and it takes on the figure of a monster creeping out from the closet, or when you see a shape in the clouds, etc. We're all trained, or not trained, I suppose, by evolution in pattern recognition. Humans are kind of pattern recognition machines, right? And in our waking life, we have all this data coming in through our senses. But when the data gets lower, when it's dusk, when it's dark out, when you're in that dark bedroom, the threshold for what counts as meaningful data has to change. This is just, survival-based reasoning on evolution's part, right? That if you see that, movement in the shadows, if you see something that maybe could be a snake, you better pay attention to it. And so how that manifests in those, low sensory information waking hours is that the noise floor gets amplified and things that are probably noise get treated as meaningful information. And so I think what's happening, the theory I've heard that sounds plausible to me about dreams is that the pattern recognition, signal noise detection stuff is still kind of operating even when you're asleep and unconscious. But its available sensory input is almost nothing, right? Your eyes are closed. You're processing maybe some sounds. You're probably in a quiet environment, you're hearing maybe the breath of the person next to you, whatever it is. The available sensory input is very low, but there's also internal processes that are happening, which are memory organization, consolidation, the brain's process of transferring things from short-term memory to long-term memory. And that little neural noise gets amplified in the low data, low signal environment into things that get read as meaningful.
Okay, but
so that's the theory.
I'm going to push back on you and say that does not, in fact, sound random at all. That sounds like there's a lot happening there that is not random. That is, in fact, your brain doing non-random things.
Well,
so it's not fair to say that it's not random. And I would actually argue that
it's not random.
I would suggest that it is. So what you're saying, though, is that because it's amplifying noise in as meaningful, that's random. But
yeah.
I don't know if that's random because, sure, I don't think that you're going, anyone can tell the future by reading their dream. It's not like astrology, which some people do treat dreams like astrology. And I've certainly met my fair share of them in prison who were like, oh, you dreamed that your teeth fall out? That means someone you love is going to die unless you say 3 Hail Marys and throw salt over your left shoulder. There is those people. And I literally had to do that in front of that person. Because apparently your teeth falling out in a dream is the worst, omen. So,
are you agreeing with me then that Freud is bullshit?
Well, I think I was the one who called Freud bullshit before even you called Freud bullshit.
Oh, you want the Freud is bullshit medal?
I do, actually. I feel yes,
okay.
I do.
You can have it.
I will have it. But I think that there is something to dreams in the same way that there is something to astrology, which is that your brain is not randomly making meaning out of the signals that it is given. So some people use astrology or like tarot cards or whatever to be like, oh, okay, this is making me, like it says the upside down hanging man or whatever, and that's making me think, oh, I should break up with my boyfriend. And it's like, no, your thought about breaking up to your boyfriend was in there.
Yeah.
And this is just giving you an opportunity to express something that was unexpressed before, which is not random and which is meaningful.
Okay, so let me give you, I think we maybe agree on this, but let me give you another example to just suss out if we're in agreement.
Okay.
Which is the phenomenon of like, let's say, you know, someone broke your heart, right? And the person who broke your heart happens to, you know, have bright red hair.
Right.
You're walking down a street, out of the corner of your eye, you see red hair, and you get that flash of like, oh no, is it that person? And you turn and it's not, right? And you find that happening to you over a period of weeks or months or something, right? I think I'm assuming I'm not the only human who has experienced this kind of thing, right? And I think what's happening there is that you have a particular preoccupation anchored in some personal experience of, give me that water. Bubbly. Our sponsor for today's Who's Right. Yeah.
Please sponsor us.
Please, any seltzer company sponsor us.
We will drink the crap out of your water.
I'm just drinking the cheapest one right now, which is not good for bubbly. That their best, thing is.
I also heard
cheapest,
it's not good for our teeth. FYI.
But we will memory hold that piece of information if you sponsor this podcast. Okay. So, again, I think it's the signal noise thing. Like your brain you're really on the lookout, not for snakes at this moment in your life, but for people with red hair, because you really don't want the anxious experience of running into your ex on the street, right? And so your threshold for what counts as meaningful information gets upped a lot. Just a flash of red out of the corner of your eye is enough to be like, is it that person, right? So in that sense, the thing you can draw from that's meaningful is, damn, I sure am preoccupied with Sandra or whoever, right? Brian. Sandra or Brian of the red hair. I never dated anyone named Sandra, by the way, or Brian.
Missing out on all the Sandra and Brians out there.
And similarly in dreams, when you find that the thing your brain is, the noise that it's amplifying into some symbol, some image, whatever, if you see patterns in there, it tells you like, okay, I'm preoccupied with this.
I mean, I could see that with recurring dreams, because I think there's an interesting thing where you have a seemingly random, like dreams are so weird. So sometimes they make sense and they're like it's like you lived a perfectly normal day in your brain for no reason. And other times it's very bizarre and doesn't seem to make sense at all. And sometimes it's whatever that may be, either making sense or totally bizarre, but you keep having the same one over and over and over
Have
again.
you had that?
Recurring dreams?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Oh, well, I'm going to violate my rule I set out at the beginning, and dare I ask you about your recurring dream?
Yeah, I can tell you about my recurring dream.
I can't believe I don't know this.
You don't know my...
Maybe because I expressed zero interest in hearing about your dreams.
Yes.
But I'm changing that right now, temporarily.
Yeah, so I've had a recurring dream since I was really young. That's a nightmare. I have recurring nightmares about a man with an enormous mouth. Like, so his mouth like takes up almost his entire face. And he has an abnormally big head too. So he's just got this enormous mouth and pointy, horrifying teeth.
Okay.
And he's chasing me. And
My God, sounds terrifying.
It's horrible. It's very, very scary. And it's always around the neighborhood I grew up in, even to this day.
When's the last time you had this dream?
I don't know. It's been a few months since I had this dream.
Just a few months? Like you had it
a few months ago?
A few months ago.
Yeah. It's a recurring dream that I've had since I was a kid.
Can't believe you've never told me this.
I mean, I've woken up crying before, and you were just like, oh, shut up.
That's not true.
But
I don't remember you waking up crying.
I wake up crying. Typically, when I wake up crying, it's because I've had a bad dream. So
Probably that I'm still asleep and don't notice it.
maybe.
Yeah.
I have different bad dreams now.
Can't believe you never told me about Scary Mouth Man.
The Scary Mouth Man is a real
My
recurring
God.
dream.
So what does Scary Mouth Man mean, I guess, is the question.
Yes.
Or is that a
does
meaningless
he mean
question?
anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. I obviously this is never a person that I've ever encountered in my whole life.
That you remember.
No, this is like a monster-faced person. It doesn't even appear really human.
Yeah, but, is it plausible that in your, early infancy you encountered some creepy dude with a big mouth and it got distorted through the,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's more of a monster than a human. It's technically got humanoid form,
Yeah.
but it's very monster-like.
Hmm.
And then other aspect of this dream is typically I am running away from him home to the house that I grew up in. But then once I get into my house, all of like the hallways and doors keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller as I'm like going through the house trying to hide from big mouth teeth man. And
my God.
it's very, very
so
scary.
scary.
It's a very scary dream.
Did you have this dream like in prison?
I've had this dream my whole life, yes.
Just doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, like it crops up.
And it's always the same. He never gets me, but he's always very close to getting me before I wake up.
Have you found any pattern where you tend to have this dream when something is going on in your life or when your general anxiety level or something is high?
You know what? We're about to get really personal here and talk about my dreams, which apparently now are meaningful.
Yeah,
So you can read into my dreams now. I can't remember any good dreams.
Ever?
I do know that I've had good dreams before, but I cannot remember them for the life of me. I've definitely had good dreams before. I remember like waking up being like, oh, that was a nice dream, but I have no idea what it was. I typically don't dream.
Or you don't remember?
No, I'm pretty sure I like.
How do you know?
Well, because I wake up and I go, oh, I had a dream. And typically I wake up and I've been dead for however long it is that I've been unconscious.
I don't think that means you didn't dream.
Well, maybe. I can say that typically I wake up with absolutely no sense that I've had any kind of dream. The vast majority of times that I wake up and I go, oh, I had a dream, though, it was either a sex dream or a nightmare.
But you remember the sex dreams.
I do remember the sex dreams. And they're always sex dreams with someone that I've never had sex with.
And they're bad. You said a minute ago that our dreams you remember are always bad.
Well, hi, listeners. This May, I'm going to be leading a resilience retreat where I'm going to talk about my practices for building resilience in the face of adversity. It's going to be a very close-knit community of people who are overcoming hardship and attempting to regain agency in their own lives and their own stories. Please join us here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest for 4 days of focused, resilience-based training in a safe and supportive space. It's going to be both fun and rewarding. So go to amandaknox.com to find out more, and I hope to see you there. The sex dreams are not good nor bad. They're just sex dreams.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the nightmares are just straight up nightmares.
But nightmares have varied. You've had other nightmares.
Oh, I've definitely had other nightmares. Yeah. And I've had lots of nightmares in my day. Some of them are more outlandish, like the one I just described, this recurring one. And some of them are very like real.
Such as?
Like I've had devastating arguments with people that I love that resulted in, us never seeing each other again. Or I've had very real dreams about somebody hurting Eureka or Echo. Those I get a lot now that's most of my nightmares now are somebody like something happening to Eureka and Echo, and it's very real and plausible.
I don't think I have nightmares very often.
Do you have dreams very often?
I don't often remember them. I have a vague, fleeting sense that I was experiencing something and then it's gone. I think the last dream I remember that I told you about was that I was on a plane and it was like the plane just started falling out of the sky and going all the way to the ground. And I just was there in horror watching it, watching us plummet to the ground. And then I woke up in the dream and woke up, maybe it's not the right word, but I next found myself like at a barbecue or some type of social event telling people about this crazy dream I had where the plane crashed.
Okay.
And then I woke up for real.
Weird.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
It doesn't mean
anything.
No.
No, you don't think so?
This is why I find stories about dreams like so boring most of the time. The Mouthman story I don't find boring. I mean,
why don't you find that boring? Why it's just is meaningless, isn't it?
I mean, when you say you have a nightmare about someone hurting our children, like
there's nothing
revelatory there, right?
You're like, oh, you love our children.
Yeah.
You don't want something
and
bad
you
to
have
happen to them.
you have some
whoop-dee-doo.
right? Big surprise. You're not a monster, like everyone says. So it's like, okay, yeah, you have a preoccupation with the safety and health of our children, Roger. So it's maybe meaningful in that sense, although it's not conveying anything that crazy, right?
Yeah.
The Mouthman dream is like,
what is
what?
up
And the
with
fact that it's recurring, right?
Yeah.
Like random one-off weird dreams, I'm more likely to attribute to like, yeah, whatever. The theory I was saying at the beginning, your brain is processing random noise and it's like, oh, turn into this.
Yeah.
And maybe your emotional.
But why into that and not that?
I mean, if you're in a bad mood, what do you see in the clouds versus if you're in a good mood? And what affects your mood, including things like blood glucose levels, right? Like it's all kinds of stuff could be affecting whether or not your brain is going to be.
So you're more of a, there's more of what is that line that Scrooge says?
Scrooge McDuck.
There's more gravy than a grave about you. Because he says that the nightmare was like some bad piece of cheese or something that he
that's
ate.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's more Yes, that is actually a good line.
To a grave.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, a lot of our emotional states trace to things like gut biome that we don't really understand very well.
So in your version of the Christmas Carol, he just goes back to bed.
Yeah, he goes back to bed.
And then doesn't buy a turkey for the family.
No. It's a more realistic story.
Scrooge.
But that said, like whatever reason you ended up in that emotional disposition, you have certain things that are built into your psyche through experience and probably genetic disposition.
But there is nothing that in my disposition or personality that would suggest giant teeth, man.
No, I mean, who knows? Maybe you saw a snippet of a scary movie your parents were watching when you were 2 years old and that image got lodged in your brain. And now when you are feeling anxiety or fear about something going on in your life, like an impending trial, who knows, right? Then this deep core image that has become associated with fear for you crops up in your mind, right? I don't know. That seems not implausible to me.
So you're not curious anymore about it?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's much profit in trying to like sit down and analyze it piece by piece in a way that you can't ever arrive at an answer.
Okay, so here's a new question, new angle. You have a dream about someone.
Mm-hmm.
Should you tell them about it?
I think it depends on the content of the dream. And again, if, like our friend Cindy Hoyt, you can be super funny about it, then sure. If it's a fun bonding moment between you. If it's like an awkward sex dream about someone that you're a coworker with, like, no, you probably shouldn't tell them that. I think HR would not look kindly on that. You know what I mean?
HR wouldn't look kindly on that. Yeah.
So
keep it to yourself, people.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that? Let's assume it's not an HR involved type situation. Let's just say it's like a
you're his
friend.
friends are hanging out and everyone's having a few drinks, and then one of them's like, "Oh, Amanda, did I tell you that I had a weird sex dream with you?"
Yeah, it's fucking weird. I mean,
I don't care. I don't get. You're the one who's more hung up about stuff like that than I am. Like, you had a sex dream about me. I'm not surprised.
yeah, there's this. We were watching Hacks the other day, and there's this moment where Hannah Einbinder's character has a sex dream about
her boss.
And she's like, she eventually, has a revelation that, oh, maybe it's because I have this fucked up sense of intimacy.
Right.
And this is the most intimate relationship in my life right now. And
therefore, my brain translates that into a sex dream. Yeah.
So it could be something like that. That also seems plausible to me. But perhaps more plausible is that you have sexual desire for that person is the first most obvious thing, right? So if it would be awkward for you to go up to your friend
and say, I have a crush on you,
I sexually fantasize about you, then it's probably a good sign you shouldn't tell them about your sex dream about them, right?
It's almost like it's like a gateway to being like, I have sexual, it's a sort of coded way of saying I have sexual fantasies about you, to say I had a sex dream about you. Ha ha ha, meaningless except for winky wink.
Well, I mean, and if you know that you don't, if you in your waking life don't find that person attractive and yet have a sex dream.
Well, but then what does that mean?
That's interesting. Maybe you have to convey both pieces of information, though. You have to be like,
I find you disgusting.
Yes.
But
but I had sex with your disgusting body. It was weird.
I think you're really bad at talking to people is what I feel like you don't. How do you have friends?
Well, because I just
don't
close my mouth when I have a weird sex dream about somebody.
Okay, so you're not going to tell me your weirdest sex dream then?
Gosh. So many to choose from. I don't know that I remember any weird sex dreams.
Okay.
They're
all pretty straightforward.
Oh, I mean, the ones I've been having lately are where we almost get to have sex, and then it's interrupted by something.
You get cock blocked in dreams.
Yeah, I get cock blocked in my dreams. Yeah, repeatedly. I think that is meaningful. That dream is meaningful.
Okay, let's see. Are there any other dream questions? What is the relationship between deja vu and dreams? Is there a relationship?
Deja vu?
Yeah, whenever I think of deja vu, I just think of the Matrix and how they're a sign that there's a glitch in the Matrix.
I don't think those are related concepts. I have some thoughts about deja vu, but are they relevant here?
I don't know. What are the thoughts? Is deja vu meaningful?
No.
In the same way that dreams are not meaningful?
No, I think deja vu is it's when okay, sometimes you'll recognize a face, right? You'll see a person and be like, God, I feel like I know that person.
Yeah.
Which is related to deja vu. I think this draws out what I'm talking about better, though, this particular version of it. And I think it's just that, again, it's a pattern recognition thing. When you recognize a face, what the part of your brain that recognizes faces is doing is it's looking at distance between eyes and looking at shape of jawline, it's hair color. All this stuff is being subconsciously computed in order to be it's Sandra, right? Of the red hair. And it's callback.
Of the red hair.
And when your brain draws in a bunch of information that pings in those ways, except something is off about it, it's getting 8 out of 10 instead of 10 out of 10, I don't know. It pings you in that way.
But that's not what deja vu is. Deja
vu is just like that.
Deja vu is the feeling that you've already done something
before. It's because you find yourself walking up the stairs of a hotel lobby and wondering what you're gonna, or thinking about the steak dinner you just had. And
then you're like, wait a second, this has happened before.
And it's well, maybe what happened was you were walking up the stairs of a, not a hotel lobby, but something else, but an office building. And you were thinking about your tacos that you ate. I don't know. It's like what I'm saying
I feel
is,
like you are not.
you think I'm not appreciating deja vu?
Yeah, it's a
No.
disconcerting feeling. It's
Yeah, but you can't pinpoint the time that it happened before is another
no, yeah, that's
important
the
element
point.
of it.
You're like,
right?
this didn't happen before, but why does it feel like it happened before?
Because
And also, by the way, this is just making me want to watch The Matrix
the
again.
because the feeling of something being of something having happened is the feeling of recognition. You're like,
Okay.
I recognize this
So it's
moment
just
in
like
time.
a dream, which is pattern recognition.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's like facial recognition. And I would also say, by the way, that like when you're on a psychedelic trip, you often get this sense of the deep felt truth of something, right? Now, normally in waking life, we think that like the feeling of something being true is this deductive place you arrive at. You're experiencing it, or you know A to be true and B to be true, and together that leads to C being true. But in that psychedelic space, you will often just know that we are all connected is a true statement, right? And they call that like a noetic kind of experience, right? What that tells me is that the feeling of something being true is a separate experience from the data that inspires that feeling. And typically in waking life, those two things are linked in a particular causal way. That like you get that feeling of something being true when certain prerequisites are met. But the chemical, the LSD or the mushrooms or whatever it does to your brain can like sever that link, and you can get the feeling of something being true without having those other prerequisites. Right?
Way to just completely demolish any like universal truth feelings that might arise from psychedelic
Oh,
spiritual
no, it's
experiences.
not. I mean, if we want to do a who's right about that, like
you don't think there's anything spiritual about psychedelic experiences?
What do you mean spiritual?
That there's any like
are you
deep universal insights to be gained?
I think that there are things you can recognize about the nature of your own mind. And I think that by extension, as your mind is a product of determinism and evolution, that can lead you to insights about the nature of reality and life. But like, I don't think it gives you access to some, other plane of information or existence,
This is going to be a completely different who's right. So we need to steer clear of
we'll
that.
return to this.
Yes. Okay, should we do like one final question?
Sure. You're the dream master.
Yes. Some of these questions are kind of dumb. Like, have people ever truly dreamed of future events?
No.
Right.
Next.
Next. I mean, I feel like we've sort of covered this. Is lucid dreaming possible?
I mean, by all accounts, I think yes. And I believe Cindy and other people I've met, and I'm back when I was like 14.
Could you train yourself
yeah.
to be lucid dreamers?
They say you can.
Interesting.
And I think actually it was when I watched The Waking Life. Do you remember that movie?
No, I've never
It's
seen
a Richard
that movie.
Linklater film. But there were certain things in that movie that were like, you can't control light switches in dreams. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe Cindy probably knows. Actually, we should ask Cindy.
Yeah.
And if such a thing like that is true, or if like reading, you can't, your brain it won't, have you ever dreamed of like reading text on a page? It's one of the other things in waking life. There's like, no, you can't do that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
And so if you want to check if you're dreaming or not,
pick up a book and try to read it.
or flip the lights on and off, right? Because light sources don't tend to work that way in dreams, they say, right? If that's true, then theoretically what you could do is like get into the habit of always flipping light switches on and off in your waking life. So it becomes so ingrained that even when you dream, you find yourself doing that behavior. And then when your dream self does that behavior, you'll go, oh, shit, I'm dreaming.
And then what, though? But then how do you decide to change the scary-faced monster guy in my dream?
Yeah, you know what would happen now is like, if that happened to me, I would just, in my dream, I'd probably be like, God, now I got to go check the breaker. And now I'd have a whole dream about checking the electrical wiring of the house is what would happen.
Okay, well, what do you guys think? Is dreaming meaningful?
Should you tell anyone about your dreams? Or here's maybe the better question. If your friend comes up to you and says, I have to tell you about this dream I had,
Mm-hmm.
can you just say, nah?
I would definitely listen to your crazy
Okay.
dream.
I mean, similarly, when you can tell someone's about to launch into a story about their like air travel experience,
Uh-huh.
isn't a part of you just like, I don't care?
You're a psychopath. I will listen to your crazy airline experience. You don't know what their story's gonna be.
Look, if the plane flipped over, if some passenger opened the emergency exit, I want to hear about it. But if you were on the runway for 40 minutes, and if there
he has no sympathy for you. I have sympathy for you.
It's not that I don't have sympathy. It's just not interesting.
Just because something is not interesting doesn't mean that it's not worth listening to. That's called human connection.
This might be a separate Who's Right.
Oh my God.
All right. Well.
All right. Is Chris a psychopath?
Yeah. The hidden subtopic of every Who's Right.
Yes, indeed. Are we learning more and more the true nature of Chris? And should I run very far away from my big tooth man?
What? You had those dreams unless you were dreaming of the future. Well, you know where to find us.
At AmandaKnox.com.
And on Bluesky.
At AmandaKnox.com.
And at wisecracker.bsky.social. And
I've been posting some cute pics lately on my Insta. I'm pretty proud of myself.
At Mama Knox.
Yep.
And if you haven't already pre-ordered Amanda's book, I'm going to book promo her because it's an awesome book. I'm really excited for everyone to read it. And I really hope it's a smash success because you deserve it, my love.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
I love you.
Till next time.
Peace.